All right. Right here is March 25th in this area here. Right here. That's the date right there on this chart. This is the exact date that Trump's own financial disclosure says he bought stock in TKO Group Holdings, right? That's UFC and WWE under one company. And 2 months later, he announces a UFC fight, okay? On the White House lawn on his birthday. Construction already started, right? The People's House looks like a job site right now. And he owns stock in the company putting on the show. Okay. Somebody explain to me how this is normal. All right. And what's good, everybody? All right. Uh, we are talking about the President of the United States, the UFC, the White House lawn, um, and a stock purchase that raises some very serious questions about how this administration operates. I'm pulling up TradingView right now because the chart tells us part of the story better than any words ever could, right? So let's get into it. All right. Uh, Let me walk you through the timeline carefully because in this story, the sequences of events is everything. May 12th of this year, Trump files his required presidential financial disclosure. Every president has to do this. It shows their financial activity, and buried in that disclosure is this. Like on March 25th, Donald Trump purchased between $15,000 and $50,000 worth of stock in TKO Group Holdings. Now, TKO Group Holdings, for anyone who doesn't know, is the parent company of both the USC and the WWE. Dana White's UFC and Vince McMahon's, I can barely say his name, Vince McMahon's WWE, combined under one publicly traded company, one ticker, TKO. So the president of the United States bought stock in the UFC's parent company. Now, here's where the timeline gets real interesting. Shortly after that purchase, right, Trump announces the UFC Freedom 250, a major UFC fight event scheduled for the White House soft lawn, right, on June 14th, his birthday, to celebrate America's 250th anniversary, which is crazy, right? Not at a stadium, not at an arena, at the White House, the South Lawn, where Marine One lands, where state dinners happen, where American history has been made for over 200 years. And this week, construction started. They are literally building an octagon on the south lawn of the White House right now. Pull up any photo from this week, and it looks like a job site. Dirt, equipment, temporary structures going up on the grounds of 1600 Penn Ave. You know, he already had the construction of the ballroom going. Got tore down the east wing and making it look like a construction site, a disaster. But they're now selling sponsorship packages for this event, are selling up to 1.5 million, right? And up to 100,000 people expected to watch this on screens at the Ellipse. And this is a massive commercial event being hosted at the most famous address in America. Let's see if we can take a look at some of this stuff. All right. Look at that.
So that actually looks like people might be walking over there. I don't know.
It's a disaster. That's the ball. That's the UFC ring.
You see the blue arches?
Yeah.
There's a lot of construction on the right.
Yeah, the White House is like
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. They're making a new dance floor.
All right, that's the construction, right? And the sitting president owns stock in the company putting it on. All right. Now the White House declined to comment on the conflict of interest questions, and TKO also declined to comment. Why would you decline to comment if you're doing everything on the up? Anyway, nobody's picking up the phone on this one, all right? But let's be completely honest about what we're actually looking at here, because this is not complicated. When you own stock in a company and then you use the power of your office to hand that company the White House as a free promotional venue, you benefit financially from that decision. The event generates massive coverage, massive publicity, massive brand value for TKO, and stock goes up. You profit. That is the textbook definition of a conflict of interest. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. It doesn't matter what your politics are. If a Democrat did this exact thing, Republicans will be wall to wall on every channel right now, and they will be right. The ethics laws exist for a reason, and this administration has found a way to operate right at the edge of all of them consistently, because this is not a one-time thing. This is a pattern, and I need you to see the pattern. The tariff pause, markets were crashing. Trump posts on Truth Social that it's a great time to buy, then announces the tariff pause hours later. Markets rocket. Whoever bought in that window made a fortune. The crypto angle, his own meme coin, the Trump coin, launched right before his inauguration, made hundreds of millions for insiders before most regular people even knew it existed. True Social stock, the DJT ticker, moves every time he posts. This man has figured out that his words and his decision as president moves markets, and he consistently has financial positions that benefit from these moves. And at what point does pattern become something the law has to address? Because there are statutes about this, there are ethics rules, and somehow none of them seem to apply today. But here's the construction site. You've seen it, right? Can we just talk about what the White House actually looks like right now? South Lawn, right? This is crazy. You've seen it, right? Equipment on the grounds, workers building fight infrastructure on the lawn of the White House. Okay. And they're going to do this in the middle of June. They're going to have a UFC fight in the middle of June underneath the lights, underneath the bugs. They usually say that it's going to be about 100 degrees around that time, around June 14th. Now, I want you to do something for me just for a second. Imagine if Barack Obama had done this, if he had bought stock in a company and then let that company build a boxing ring on the White House lawn for a commercial event on his birthday. The coverage would have been wall to wall, every channel, every front page. Impeachment conversations would have started by noon. But we are so deep into normalizing this kind of behavior from him that it barely registers as news for a lot of people. And that right there, that normalization is the most dangerous part of all of this, right? Not any one individual decision, the fact that we have collectively stopped being surprised. That's when things really go wrong, right? When nothing shocks us anymore. Take a look at this.
Donald Trump just bought stock in the UFC's parent company right before promoting a massive UFC event on the White House South Lawn. Yes, the actual White House. According to a financial disclosure reviewed by HuffPost, he picked up between $15,001 and $50,000 in TKO Group stock on March 25th, and then turned around and hyped UFC Freedom 250 as a patriotic celebration for America's 250th birthday. Construction on the Octagon already started. Sponsorships, up to $1.5 million. Crowd, up to 100,000 people watching from the ellipse. Critics are calling it a textbook conflict of interest, using presidential power to boost a company you just invested in. But hey, in this administration, the line between politics and profit is basically a suggestion. Like, share, follow for more.
Okay. So let's go back to this chart, right? Let's go back to the chart, guys. Take that off. Put that back up. All right. It's where he bought it, like March 25th. So around this area, right? He bought it around that area, right? And TKO right now is trading around 204. All right. Is $155 on the low end and 224 on the high end, as you can see up here, right? Right up here. All right. And analysts predict that it's going to be sitting at 238. That's the price target, right? Now look at this. Trump buys in on March 25th, right around here on the chart. And the fight is June 14th, and that's coming up fast right here on the calendar, okay? Big live events with massive media coverage move entertainment stocks. a UFC fight on the White House lawn with 100,000 people watching and every camera in America pointed at it. That is not just a fight. That is a global marketing event for TKO. So if that event goes well, and it will get coverage, whether it goes well or not, watch this stock between now and June 14th and watch it the week after. Okay. I am not a financial advisor. Let me tell you that again. I am not a financial advisor. Okay. I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything. I'm simply showing you a chart telling you when the event is and letting you make your own observations, right? TKO, June 14th. That's all I said. Okay. So drop it in the comments if this is a conflict of interest or just a president who likes UFC. We've seen him on the court side in the stage, touching the fighters. We know how he liked to touch people. So we've seen him doing that. So I want the real debate, but not the talking points. Okay. So, you can make fun, do what you want to do. But yeah, I look at all the comments, right? And UFC fans specifically, right? They're excited about this fight being at the White House. Okay. And does the setting make it feel like bigger and more historic, or does something about it feel off to you? Because I'm genuinely curious where actual fight fans land on this one, completely separate from the politics, right? Drop it below. I read every comment. Okay. And if you're not subscribed yet, do that right now and hit the bell. Check out the other videos that we got. We got a lot going on today, and every single one of them is something you need to know about. Okay. So I'm with, and let's keep it moving. All right.